Welcome to the Hindu Current Affairs for Beginners. Before starting our today's session, first let us see answers for the questions from our yesterday's video. The first question is, which of the following is or are correct with regard to National Mineral Policy of 2019? The first statement is, it encourages private sector to take up exploration. Yes. This statement is correct. The main objective of this National Mineral Policy 2019 is to bring in the private investments by providing them some incentives. The next statement is, it proposed to grant industry status to the mining activity. Yes. And it introduced the concept of intergenerational equity. What is meant by intergenerational equity? This deals not only with the needs of present generation but also the future generations. So as all the three statements were correct here, the answer here is D. The next question is, consider the following pairs. Here we have given you some rhino conservation areas and their location. Manas National Park is in Assam, Buxa Tiger Reserve is in West Bengal, and Valmiki Tiger Reserve is in Bihar. All the three were correctly paired, so the answer here is C. The next question is, who among the following is the adjudicating authority for insolvency resolution in case of corporates as per the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code? Here the question is related to corporates. It is not related to the individuals. In case of corporates, the adjudicating authority is National Company Law Tribunal, whereas in case of individuals, it is the Debt Recovery Tribunal is the adjudicating authority for resolving this insolvency issues. So the answer here is C. The next question is, see this question, it deals with a concept. It is talking about a concept known as Internet of Things, which deals with the everyday life activities being connected to internet. This entire example explains about this Internet of Things concept. The next question is, with regard to the United Nations Security Council, consider the following. UNSC can authorize military action. Yes, this is one of its responsibilities along with maintaining international peace and security. The next is, India is one among the G4 nations that bids for UNSC permanent membership. Yes, what are the other three nations? Brazil, Germany and Japan, who are seeking for this UNSC permanent membership. The non-permanent members of UNSC are elected by the permanent members. This statement is incorrect. These non-permanent members were elected by the United Nations General Assembly. So the answer here is only 1 and 2. The next question is, consider the following statements. The international border is the official border between India and Pakistan. It is the official border between the countries, whereas line of control is the military control line between India and not Pakistan, but it is between India and Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Yes, this statement is correct. The Indian controlled Jammu and Kashmir shares boundary with the international border line. Yes, even this statement is correct. As both are correct, the answer here is C, 1 and 2. The next question is, which among the following documents are accepted as voters' identity for exercising their franchise? MGNREGA job card, post office passbook with photograph, photo voter slip, service ID card of public limited company and passport. In our yesterday's video, we have seen that from now onwards, this photo voter slip is no longer a ID proof for the voters while exercising their franchise. The Election Commission has brought in 11 documents which can be shown as a proof by the voter while casting their vote. The answer here is 1, 2, 4 and 5. As 3 is incorrect, from these 3 options we can eliminate as 3 is there. So the answer here is D. The next question is, consider the following statements about MPLATS, Member of Parliament's Local Area Development Scheme. It is a centrally sponsored scheme. Yes, the funds utilized here are non-lapsable funds. That means the amount of funds that were granted, if they were not used within the particular year, for every year the funds will be granted. If those funds were not being utilized in that year only, then these funds can be passed on to be used in the subsequent years. So this statement is correct. 75% of the funds are to be utilized for areas inhabited by the scheduled castes. This statement is incorrect. There is no provision like this that some amount of funds has to be used for a particular caste in that way. So as the third statement is incorrect, the answer here is D, 1 and 2 only. The next question is, it terminates terminates a sitting. It is not talking about the session of parliament, about the sitting. But it does not affect the bills or any business pending before the house, and it is done by the presiding officer of the house. Which among the following refers to the above statements? It is about the adjournment. Yesterday we have seen about this adjournment. It terminates a sitting of the parliament for a definite period of time. If it is for an indefinite period of time, then it is called as adjournment sine die. Next question is, which among the following is not bordered with the Mediterranean Sea? Libya, Morocco, Nigeria, Algeria. The answer here is C. This Nigeria is not bordered with the Mediterranean Sea, but it is bordered with the Atlantic Ocean. The next question is, with regard to the Forest Rights Act of 2006, which of the following is not correct? It grants legal recognition to the rights of all the forest dwellers. See, here we have to see this, all the forest dwellers. When we are seeing about this Forest Rights Act, we have seen the eligibility criteria to acquire the rights under this act. It is not all the forest dwellers who will get this legal recognition for the rights over land and usage. So there is some criteria. The importance will be given here for the traditionally dwelling tribal people, and also for the people who are residing there from 75 years. So for them only this will be granted, but not for all the forest dwellers. So the statement A itself is wrong. The other three statements were correct with regard to this Forest Rights Act of 2006. Now let's start our today's session. These are all the topics that we are going to cover in our today's video. The first article is, at OIC meet, India flays terror funding. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of international relations, and the subtopic is various international organizations. From this article, now we are going to see what is this OIC. Organization of Islamic Cooperation. It is an international organization founded in 1969, and it consists of 57 member states, and it is the second largest intergovernmental organization after the United Nations. And this organization is considered as the collective voice of Muslim world, and it works to safeguard and protect the interests of Muslim world in the spirit of promoting international peace and harmony. And this organization has permanent delegations to United Nations as well as European Union. Then, is India a member of this organization? No. Though India has 12% of the world's Muslim population, but India's entry into the organization is blocked by Pakistan because this organization sees Kashmir as occupied by India. Bangladesh has proposed to make India an observer in the forum, but it didn't materialize because of the resistance from Pakistan. This year, India got an invitation to attend the 46th session of Organization of Islamic Cooperation Foreign Ministers Meet, and this is the first time India has attended the session of OIC's Council of Foreign Ministers. The next article is, order on surveillance meant to protect privacy. Government tells Supreme Court. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of governance. So from this article, now what we are going to see is, we are going to see about this section 69 clause 1 of this Information Act of 2000. What is this section 69 is all about? This section 69 clause A grants powers to the central government to issue directions, to issue orders for blocking of public access to any information through any computer resource. To put it simply, this means that it will allow the government to block any website. Then, is this constitutionally valid? The Supreme Court has upheld the constitutional validity of this section 69A on the grounds that there are sufficient internal safeguards and reasonable procedures that were available within this section. Some of those safeguards are, the intermediaries, those who will host the articles of Google, Facebook, etc. They should be given the chance to be heard as they write, and the original originator of a particular article is found, then he or she also must be given a chance for hearing their opinion. And if the Supreme Court itself feels like passing an order to block the websites or URLs, these two need not be considered. Directly they can block this website. if it is threatening the interests of the sovereignty and integrity of the country, defense of India, security of state, friendly relations with foreign states or public order, or for preventing the incitement to any cognizable offence. The next article is Supreme Court warns Haryana of contempt. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of governance. From this article, now we are going to see about a term known as contempt. What is this contempt of court? This contempt of court is an offence of being disobedient or disrespectful towards a court of law. Being disrespectful to the legal authorities in the courtroom or willfully disobeying a court order might attract these contempt of court proceedings. A judge can impose sanctions such as fine or jail for someone who is found guilty of this contempt of court. And as per Article 129 of the Indian Constitution, it is the Supreme Court who is having the powers to punish for the contempt of itself. If there is any disobedience of its order, then the Supreme Court can punish them as per Article 129 of the Constitution. And this contempt of courts is of two types. One is civil and the other one is criminal contempt. This civil contempt means willful disobedience to any judgment or order or direction or writ or any other process of the court, or willfully breaching any undertaking that was given to the court. Whereas criminal contempt, it is the publication. It can be through words, whether they are through speech or in a written format or by signs or by visible representation or in any other means or through caricatures of any matter or the doings of any other act is considered as criminal contempt against the courts. The next article is Assam to be oil exporting hub for Southeast Asia. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of governance. From this article, now let us see about a concept known as hydrocarbon vision of 2030. What is this hydrocarbon vision of 2030? The objective of this mission is to make use of Northeast region's hydrocarbon potential and to improve the availability of petroleum products and to increase access to the clean fuels and to facilitate economic development and link common people to the economic activities in this hydrocarbon sector. The vision of this project is based on 5 pillars. They are people, policy, partnership, projects and production. People. Here, this is to foresee the accessibility of clean fuel to the households in the northeastern region in order to impart skills in the local communities. And the next thing is policy. This focuses on the development of areas including moderation of weather conditions of the region along with the fund planning for new projects. And the next thing is partnership. This project emphasizes on greater involvement of state governments from northeastern region in planning and implementation and also to boost trade with the neighboring nations. The next thing is projects. This project is to focus on the pipeline connectivity for carrying natural gas, LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, petroleum products and oil and lubricants. And in case of production, here it focuses on this technology deployment. And now under this project, the programs are going to be completed and now Assam will be the India's major oil exporting hubs, one among the major oil exporting hubs who will send petrol and diesel to Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar and Southeast Asian countries. The next article is Ayushman Bharat cover for Uber cab drivers. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of governance. We have seen so many times about this Ayushman Bharat program. This is an umbrella program which comprehensively covers all the 3 areas: primary health, secondary health and also tertiary health. This primary health will be addressed by the health and wellness centers under this program, whereas secondary and tertiary issues, hospitalization issues, forms under the part of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. We know that under this program, per annum 5 lakh rupees will be provided to each family which is selected based on the socio-economic and caste census data of 2011 in order to meet their expenses for these secondary and tertiary hospitalization charges. Now, Uber has paid up with the government to provide this Ayushman Bharat facilities, that is 5 lakh rupee per annum, to all the Uber cab drivers and their families. The next article is Palghar records magnitude 4.3 quake. This article comes under GS paper 1 under the topic of geography. Here this article is about there is an earthquake of magnitude 4.3 on Richter scale that had hit Maharashtra's Palghar area. So from this article now let us see everything about earthquakes. What and all were the important points of an earthquake. What is earthquake? This earthquake is a sudden movement which originates from inside the earth. To put it simply, earthquake is nothing but the shaking of the earth. An earthquake, we can define it as a sudden violent shaking of the ground due to the movements in the earth's crust or volcanic action. These movements will result in the release of energy along a fault and causes the earth to shake. Now let us see some of the points which we shouldn't miss and we should remember about these earthquakes. The network of seismographic. Seismograph is the instrument which is used to measure earthquakes. The network of seismographic stations all over the world, they record dozens of earthquakes every day. But most of them were not felt by the human beings because they are minor quakes only. And the occurrence of severe earthquake is limited to a few regions in the world. The point within the earth's crust where an earthquake originates is called as focus or hypocenter or seismic focus. Here you can see the point focus. This is where this earthquake will originate and it generally lies within a depth of 6 kilometers from the earth's crust. And this point, the point which is vertically above this focus on the earth's surface is called as epicenter. The intensity of the earthquake will be highest in this epicenter and it will decrease as we move away. And all the natural earthquakes will take place in the lithosphere, that is the region that constitutes the earth's crust and the upper rigid part of mantle. And now how this earthquake is measured. We have the instruments which are used to measure the motion of the ground. They are known as seismometers. And what about this Richter scale? There are two main scales which are used in these seismometers. They are Mercalli scale and the other thing is Richter scale. This Mercalli scale will represent the intensity of the earthquake by analyzing the after effects, like how many people felt it and how much destruction has occurred. And the range of intensity is from 1 to 12. Whereas this Richter scale, it represents the magnitude of earthquake. This Mercalli is talking about intensity, whereas Richter is about the magnitude. And the magnitude is expressed in absolute numbers from 1 to 10. And each whole number increase in Richter scale represent a 10-time increase in the power of an earthquake. Here you can see the distribution of earthquake and earthquake zones in India. Here you can see how they are classified. Zone 5 is considered as very high risky zone and zone 1 is of no risk and zone 2 is very low risky zone. The next article is when are you coming back? High Court asks Malia. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of internal security and also it comes under economy. From this article now let us see about two things. One is what is this PMLA and what is this fugitive economic offender? Who is known as this fugitive economic offender? PMLA. Prevention of Money Laundering Act of 2002. This is the act of the Parliament of India enacted to prevent money laundering. We know what is meant by money laundering. It is converting the black money into a legal money. And this particular act has a provision to confiscate the property, that is to take away or seize the property that is obtained from this money laundering. This act and the rules that were notified under this act, they impose obligations on banking companies, financial institutions and intermediaries to verify the identity of clients and to maintain the records and furnish the information. And it is Vijay Mallya who is the first person who is declared as fugitive economic offender under this Fugitive Economic Offenders Act, and this order was passed by the PMLA Court, Prevention of Money Laundering Act Court. Now, who is this fugitive economic offender? The Fugitive Economic Offenders Law. This act came into force in August 2018. According to this act, a person can be named as an offender under this law if any arrest warrant is issued against that person for involving in an economic offense which is at the value of at least 100 crores or more than 100 crores, and that person has fled from the country in order to escape legal action. See, there is a person who did an economic offense of worth 100 crore rupees, and now he has got caught and there is a arrest warrant issued against him. But to avoid this arrest warrant, he left the country in order to escape that legal action. Then that person is known as fugitive economic offender. Here what is important is what is the value based on which this law will be imposed. The next article is ensure a minimum income for all. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of governance. From this article, now we are going to see about two concepts. One is universal basic income and the other concept is PM Kisan. We have seen about this so many times. Now let us brief it again once. What is this universal basic income? The Economic Survey of 2016-17 has an entire chapter that is dedicated to this concept of universal basic income. Now let us see what it is. This universal basic income is a periodic, unconditional cash transfer to every citizen of the country. Here, the social or economic positions of the individual will not be taken into consideration. The concept of this universal basic income has three main features. They are, it is universal in nature. That means there are no targeted beneficiaries here. And the cash transfer instead of in-kind transfer. Here, instead of providing the welfare schemes to the people in the form of PDS or MJNREGA, here these are the in-kind transfers. Whereas now what government is going to do is, it is going to provide cash. The next feature is this income is unconditional. Universal basic income is unconditional. That means one need not prove his or her unemployment status or socio-economic identity to be eligible under this universal basic income. So why we need this concept of universal basic income? It is a form of social security measure which will help in reducing the inequality and helps to eliminate poverty, so that it will ensure the security and dignity of all the individuals. And we know that as human labor is being substituted by technology, there will be reduced wage income and there will be a reduced purchasing power. Then this universal basic income will compensate that reduced purchasing power. The next thing is, let us see about this Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana, PM Kisan. Under this program, all the vulnerable land holding farmer families who are having cultivable land up to 2 hectares will be provided direct income support at the rate of 6,000 rupees per year, and this will be provided to the farmers in 3 installments, 2,000 each. And this income support will be transferred directly into the bank accounts of beneficiary farmers in these 3 equal installments. The next article is manufacturing PMI at a 14-month high of 54.3 in February. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of economy. From this article, let us see what is this PMI. Purchasing Managers Index. This is an indicator of economic health of both the sectors, that is manufacturing sector and the service sector. This will indicate what is the economical health of manufacturing and service sectors, and this index is based on 5 major indicators. They are new orders, inventory levels, production, supplier deliveries, and the fifth thing is employment environment. All these 5 indicators will be considered while bringing out this index. And how this index will be calculated? It is a survey based measure which will ask the respondents about the changes in their perception of some of the key business variables. These are the key business variables, and the employees will be asked the questions about these. And the purpose of this index is to provide information about current business conditions to company decision makers, analysts, and purchasing managers. This index will be calculated separately for both manufacturing and service sectors, and then together a composite index will be constructed. So this is all for today, and this is our Law Excellence website where you can access the notes for this video. Thank you.